Is $1 million enough to retire on? Stay tuned. What's up everybody, my name is David, and for today's video we'll be talking about how much you need for retirement and how to invest for retirement. So the big question, is $1 million enough to retire on? Yes. Thanks everyone, I'll see you next week. Bye. Alright, just kidding. It really depends on where you live and how your lifestyle is. Growing up, I thought $1 million would be a lot, but after doing some research and looking at some articles, it really isn't a lot, depending on the state and the city you're living in. The main reason why I don't think $1 million is enough for us for our retirement is because inflation. Inflation is the concept of prices increasing over time. And that's due to just increase of wages, supply, and demand changes. Now, inflation isn't bad as it seems. It's able to increase the wages for people, and in doing so, increase the quality of life, along with keeping supply readily available rather than having storages, along with keeping demand at a reasonable rate. Unless you're Apple and people wait lines even days for your products. Being carefree and relaxed isn't a bad thing, but for your retirement, it can be very detrimental. There's definitely things that we oversee, such as emergencies and inflation, but the one big thing I see is where we're living. Yes, for your retirement, you have to factor in where you live. To give you more insight, let's go back to our first question. Can you retire off of $1 million? I'm currently living in the city of Philadelphia, and if you forgot, it's in Pennsylvania, the Keystone State. Now, Pennsylvania is in the middle. It's not the most expensive state, nor is the most cheapest state. If you're living in southern states such as Mississippi, Arkansas, or Tennessee, you're able to estimate that you can live off your $1 million retirement from 24 to 25 years. For example, if you're living in the state of Hawaii or the District of Columbia or California, you're expected to use $1 million in retirement within 13 to 15 years. 13 or 15 years isn't a long time after retirement. All of that, if you want to retire earlier, you're going to have to invest into your retirement even more, and that can be a problem. Saving for retirement may be a distant thought in your head or maybe far in the future, but if you're goal-oriented and need a specific number, here's the rule that you should be looking for. The 4% rule. The 4% rule was completed by researchers at Trent College, and they found out with a withdrawal rate of 4% that your total investments for your retirement would never run out. The way you calculate your total investments that you need for retirement is pretty simple. First, you'll calculate your monthly expenses. That includes everything, including food, water, traveling, car insurance, your mortgage. Then you'll multiply that figure by 12, representing 12 months out of the year. Then you take that figure, multiply 25, and that's the total amount that you need to retire off of. For example, let's say I spent $2,500 in a month. That includes, like I said, your mortgage, your rent, going out, traveling. From there, you'll multiply that by 12. Then again, you'll multiply that figure by 25. For this example, I would need $750,000 in order to retire off of. You're probably thinking, I can't do it. Retirement's too hard. I don't make enough. I'm gonna be at McDonald's forever. I'm gonna be flipping burgers, asking customers, medium, supersize. Would you like fries with that? I can't. All right, stop. Take a breath and listen to these tips that I thought would be helpful for investing for your retirement. Tip number one, have an emergency fund between 3 to 6 months of your expenses. Now, I talked about this concept in more detail in a previous video regarding how to invest after college or if you're a new investor. So if you haven't seen it, watch the video above. This tip doesn't help you directly with investing or preparing for retirement, but it's very important. Having an emergency fund between 3 to 6 months of expenses helps you prepare for any foreseen emergencies. This money that you set aside for emergency acts as a barrier so you don't have to tap into your retirement, such as your 401k or IRA. For example, if you withdraw money out of your 401k before the age of 59 and a half, you're going to have to pay a 10% early withdrawal penalty. On that, you're going to have to pay income tax that you normally add. So that could be roughly 24 or 25%. So please, please, please have some money set aside for emergencies just so you don't have to withdraw early and pay more towards your retirement. Just with the figures I showed you earlier, you're losing about a third of your retirement just for taking the money out. And that's not even spending the money. Step number two, pay yourself first. This step and mindset is a great foundation for preparing for your future and your retirement. Many people make the mistake of investing whatever's left over at the end of the month after they paid their expenses. It's a really bad mindset to have because at the end of the month, it's usually what's left over, and then what's left over isn't really a lot. You want to set aside roughly 15 to 20% of your income every time you get paid. It sounds like a lot, but you're going to have to make some sacrifices in terms of your lifestyle. Meaning you're not going to have to go out as often, maybe downsizing, and maybe buying a cheaper car or selling the current car that you have. Also, you want to make sure that all your outstanding debt is paid on time and not delinquent. After paying yourself first, you want to check on this next tip. Tip number 3, invest the max of your 401k up to your employer's match. A lot of 401k plans that are set up by your employer often have a match program, meaning that they match dollar for dollar, 50 cents to a dollar, 25 cents to a dollar. Wherever it is, like I said before, it's free money, you should just do it. With this tip, you get an immediate return just based on the employer's match, which is great and easy. And if your employer doesn't have a match program, you can still invest a little bit of it, but follow this next step. Once you set up your 401k with your employer or your individual retirement account, you want to make sure that that plan, your retirement account, is based off of an index fund. Step number 4, invest in an index fund. An index fund is based off an index, and an index is basically a bundle of investments based on a particular focus. The focus can be on tech companies, oil companies, bonds, and even large companies. One of the most popular index that investors look at and invest towards is the S&P 500. A lot of investors and retirement accounts are based off of the S&P 500 just because of its strength of the 500 largest companies in, say, the best of times and the worst of times. These are the 500 largest companies that are able to improve when the economy is going up, but also survive if the economy is going down. If you get a chance to decide how your retirement account is invested, try to look into an index fund, like the S&P 500. Tip number 5, diversify, diversify, diversify. The main takeaway for this tip is that you want to diversify your investments just because if one does bad, the other one can offset it and do well. This means that you're not investing in just one thing, such as index funds or stocks. You want to make sure you can have some stuff as bonds that are safe or invest abroad, such as international companies and stocks. This strategy helps you hedge or limit any potential losses when the economy or market does bad. Generally, when the market and economy goes up, all these type of investments will also go up. But when the economy goes bad or the market goes bad, you want to make sure that some type of investments that you have within your portfolio for retirement is able to offset one another. Thank you everyone for listening. Those are my thoughts of how to prepare for retirement along with some tips. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave it down below. And again, thank you. Peace.